Studying more will not fix your speaking problem. And if you've ever felt like you know a language, you understand podcasts, videos, articles, but the moment you have to speak, your mind goes completely blank, this video is for you. Let's talk about why speaking feels so hard, why studying more doesn't solve it, and what actually does. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and now let's get started. When we learn a language, there are 4 main skills: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. And for the majority of learners, speaking is by far the hardest one. And it's not because it's technically hard. Like when you think about it logically, there's nothing that challenging, that difficult about speaking. The real reason why it feels so hard is because it's directly tied to our ego and self-esteem. We often tend to measure our worth by how competent we sound and how others react to us. When you first start speaking a new language, it feels vulnerable, you feel exposed. There is this risk that someone might correct you and they might be nice about it, but there is also a possibility that they might be rude, because let's be honest, some people are just rude, and that's the truth, unfortunately. So our brain does something it's really good at. It tries to protect us by avoiding speaking. But here's the irony. We learn languages to speak them, not to recite grammar rules, not to ace a test, not to recognize words on a page, but to actually speak. When people ask about languages, they often ask, what languages do you speak? It's usually that. It's less common to ask, what languages do you know? Or like, what languages do you understand? No, most people ask, what languages do you speak? So they use the word speak because that's the ultimate goal, to start speaking, to be able to communicate with people, make new friends. It's the most challenging skill, but at the same time, it's the most rewarding one. At some point, something really frustrating happens. It's usually around the intermediate level where you know a lot of words, you know a lot of different grammar rules, different tenses, and you feel like you finally know the language, right? But when you try to speak, you freeze and your mind goes completely blank. I've been there. I've been there many times. As you guys may know, I learned English at school and I was very, very fortunate. I had amazing teachers. And by the time I was like 13 or 14, I reached a pretty high level. English was my favorite subject at school, and English as a foreign language, not literature. That was my favorite subject at school. I was really good at it. We used to do so many very advanced grammar exercises. Looking back, I'm amazed that I was able to do them at literally 13 because they were so advanced and I knew every single grammar rule. You could literally wake me up at 3 a.m. and I would recite them for you perfectly. And then around that time, I went on holiday abroad, and that was my first time speaking English outside of a classroom, basically. I was like, okay, easy. I know English, it's going to be a piece of cake. But what happened was that when I actually had to speak, my mind went completely blank. I was so stressed, I was so terrified, I was sure that people were going to judge me, that they were not going to understand me. Anytime I had to say something in English, I would rehearse that phrase so many times in my head. It was really stressful and not the best time, to be honest. And I was like, what's happening? I'm good at English. This shouldn't be happening. What's going on? And then I realized something really important. No amount of grammar, no amount of exercises, no amount of studying is going to replace actual speaking practice. My problem wasn't grammar. It wasn't a lack of vocab. It was just that I've never actually practiced speaking because, you know, when you learn languages at school, there's never enough time. There are like 15 other kids in the classroom with you. And yeah, it's just, I've never practiced speaking. So of course, it was hard and it was challenging when I tried it for the first time. So yeah, I know that when you first try to speak a new language and it's hard, the automatic conclusion is that you need more grammar, more vocab. But trust me, the only solution to get better at speaking is to start and practice. So imagine that you want to start going to the gym and you want to build muscles. You're not gonna do that by watching YouTube videos about working out. You're not gonna buy books and read about the theory behind each exercise, why it works, like what muscle group it affects and stuff like that. Although like you might want to do that, but you're not going to get actual results on your body. Your body is not going to change just by doing that. You need to get a gym membership. You need to go there, you need to do reps, and then you need to come back again and again and again. And of course, at the beginning, your form is bad. You feel weak, you can't really lift that much, and it's uncomfortable. But as you keep practicing, as you do more reps and you come back each day and you try and try again, things that felt impossible at the beginning start to feel easy. And that's the magic of practicing. That's the magic of doing things consistently, even if you're terrible at the beginning, and speaking works the exact same way. Before we talk about my favorite exercises, things that you can start doing today to practice speaking, I want to talk about one very important thing. And I actually think this might be, if you take one thing from this video, let it be this. This is the biggest piece of advice I can give you. Put your ego aside and lower your expectations, because it's just unrealistic to think that the first time you do something new, you're going to be amazing at it. It's so rare that we pick up a new hobby and then suddenly we're just like amazing at it. No, it usually takes time. Like, think about the time when you had to learn how to ride a bike, or you had to learn how to ski, or you had to learn how to read as a kid. You're not supposed to sound good at first, and it's not supposed to feel effortless. Your mouth and your brain need time to get used to a whole new language, and it's going to take time, and that is completely normal. So of course you'll hesitate, of course you'll have to look up words, of course you'll make mistakes. That's fine, that's normal. You should not beat yourself up about it. And you should not also, like when I said lower your expectations, I mean, don't aim for a 10 or a 15-minute monologue at the very beginning. Set small achievable goals and make your life easier for yourself. So like, for example, if you can't remember a word, or you want to talk about something but you don't know how to say it, you can look it up. It's not that big of a deal. And yeah, just don't make your life harder than it needs to be. So yeah, the biggest piece of advice I can give you is to put your ego aside, lower your expectations, and you will get better with practice. One reminder that I really like, and I always remind myself of this, is that I will never be judged by someone doing more than me. If someone judges me, then I know that they've never been there. They don't know what it's like to start speaking a new language, and I try not to listen to them. It's hard. It is, like, I'm not going to lie to you and say that it's easy and it doesn't affect me. It does. But I really like this reminder, and it's really true, because someone who's been there, who tried learning a new language, who tried speaking, is never going to make fun of you for trying. Okay, so now let's talk about exercises that you can start doing today to practice speaking. And the first one is shadowing. It lets you get used to speaking without having to think about forming your own sentences. You're basically just repeating after someone else. And you don't even necessarily have to understand everything that you're saying, although it's great if you do, but if you don't, that's fine as well. I know that it's usually associated with the beginner level, and a lot of people recommend it for beginners because that's how you can work on your pronunciation. But I actually think it works across all levels, especially if you are very intimidated by the idea of speaking. Shadowing is great. It's also wonderful as a little warm-up before a speaking exercise. So yeah, if you've never tried shadowing, definitely give it a try. Another great way to start speaking is to literally talk to yourself, or even better, record yourself. Recording yourself is amazing, because then you can listen to that recording and see if you made any mistakes. An easy way to do this is to either talk about your plans for the day or what you did during the day, because then you learn words that are relevant to your life. If you, like, let's say that you work in wildlife conservation, right? And you want to talk about your day, and you want to say that you saved this super rare rhino, let's say, right? Then if you don't know how to say that in your target language, you're just going to quickly look it up and then, yeah, talk about your day. And that way you learn words that you're going to use all the time, because that's something that people ask about all the time. Or what do you do for work? How was your day? And, you know, for an average person, knowing how to say they saved a rhino might not be very useful. But if you work in wildlife conservation, it's going to be very useful for you. Talk about your day or your plans for the day. Or you can just pick any random prompt and talk about that topic. But again, especially at the beginning, make sure that it's something you enjoy talking about, or something that is, again, relevant to your life. Another thing, I already mentioned it, but I think it's important. Don't aim for like 10 or 15 minutes. Start small. 1 to 2 minutes is enough at the beginning, and then you're slowly going to build up to 5, then 7, then 10. And so on. And lastly, there are, of course, speaking classes and language exchanges. You guys know that I am a big fan of language exchanges, because You can meet new people, you get to practice your target language, and it's such a nice environment to be in because you are surrounded with other people who are either learning your language or are learning the same language as you. So yeah, it's just really, really nice. If you live in a big city, I'm sure you'll find an in-person language exchange. I used to go to this one language exchange in Paris that was French to Danish. Yeah, it was really, really fun. I highly, highly recommend it. I loved it. But you can also book a speaking class online. I used to be really intimidated by online classes, speaking classes included. It kind of seemed a bit awkward, the idea of spending like 60 minutes talking to someone who is a complete stranger. But a few weeks ago, I started learning a new language and I decided to go with one-on-one lessons online, and it's been really, really nice. So I'm kind of getting over my fear of speaking classes. A few final reminders before we wrap up the video. Number one, lower your expectations and put your ego aside. Give yourself permission to be terrible at the beginning, but don't let that discourage you from speaking. Number two, give yourself permission to look up words. Don't expect to know everything from the very beginning. Number three is choose topics that you actually care about. And number four is be consistent, and you will become better with practice. And if you're just not ready to start speaking yet, the truth is that you will never feel ready. There is no moment where you suddenly feel ready. Confidence doesn't come before speaking, it comes from speaking. So even if you're just going to do 5 minutes of shadowing today, do it and keep doing it every day until you become comfortable. Speaking a new language is so worth it. It's so incredibly rewarding, even if it feels awkward at first. All right, that's it for today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.